Now, let's work on question 11. Find the domain of functions f of x equals radical x and f of x equals 1 over x cubed. We know here is the solution. Here we have f of x equals radical x. Then everything inside the radical sign has to be positive or 0. So then we know the domain of f of x equals radical x is from 0 to positive infinity, including 0. That's why we write here is the square bracket. So we are done for this case. And here is the picture. So you can see here, x must be greater than or equal to 0. So we only have on the right-hand side of the y-axis, we have the points, not on the left-hand side. Because you plug in negative number, you see here. For example, -2, what do you get? No solution. Does not make sense. Okay? So that's the reason. All right? So that's the answer for this one. Then no solution. And how about the domain for f of x equals 1 over x squared? We know for f of x equals 1 over x squared, the denominator cannot be 0. Because again, we do not know if we plug in negative 0 number here, we have no answer. So denominator cannot be 0. Okay. So this then tells us x cannot be 0. So the domain for f of x equals 1 over x squared is from negative infinity to 0, and then from 0 to positive infinity. Remember here is that when 0 is included, we use square bracket here. 0 is not included, we use round bracket. So from negative infinity up to 0, 0 is not included. And from 0 to positive infinity, 0 is not included. How does the picture look like? Let me get out of this one. And the picture for this one looks like this. It looks like it touched this point on x-axis, but it actually didn't, never touched x-axis. Here, the reason is because of the pixels. When you zoom in, you see they never touch x-axis. And we can see at this point, when x is 0, there is no picture. But when x is very close to 0, then there is one. For example, if x equals, let's say, 1/2, then you should have a 1/2 is actually what? Is actually 0.5. Then you have a f of 0.5 equals 1 over 0.5 squared. What do you get? 1 over 0.25, and that's 4. Okay, so you can see here, when you put 0.5, let me use the parentheses. X is 0.5. Got to delete this point. X is 0.5, and then you have a 4. So you see that would be this point. It's on the curve. Okay. And you can make 0.05 to see. Then the point will be higher. But it cannot be 0. But very close to 0 is fine. Okay. So this tells us the domain for 1 over x squared. Here, x squared is the one right here. There's the domain. So basically here, those two cases are very typical. For an expression with radical, and here the index is 2. If we didn't write, here the index is actually 2, square root. So it has to be positive or 0, like that. And for denominator, a variable is on denominator, then the domain would be x cannot be 0. Those two are very typical, and that's the thing we normally will see. We'll see. So there are no other cases at this moment. We only have a greater than or equal to 0 or not 0 on denominator, those two cases. All right, I'll see you next time.